We're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's March 28th here in Seoul. I'm Seung-yoon, and you're watching News Generation. Joining me in the studio is Park Kyung-hoon.
Thanks for having me.
Good morning, and Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
Good morning. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. For almost 2 whole months, Korea has been seeing a standoff between doctors and officials. That's because the government is set to expand the med school admission quota from next year by 2,000, while med school students and junior doctors are against this measure. In protest, an extra 400 students handed in leave of absence forms, but one med school has rejected at least 600 students' requests. As of Wednesday, the number of legitimate or processed leave of absence forms at med schools amounted to 382. Those who applied for one surpassed 8,900, though. Moving on, South Korea's men's national football team got a 3-0 win over Thailand in their World Cup qualifier match on Tuesday night. Among the 3 goals, the second one by captain Son Heung-min especially warmed the hearts of fans. That's because Lee Gang-in, who was mired in a controversy with Son after the AFC Asian Cup last month, assisted the score. Now, Lee suffered heavy criticism from fans after it was reported that he and Son scuffled over a game of table tennis a day before their semi-final match against Jordan, during which Son injured a finger. But at Tuesday's match in Bangkok, the two were found not only assisting each other, but even hugging one another after the goal, seemingly putting their troubles behind them. And ending off with what's happening in New York, there are concerns about the safety on the busiest subway system in the States. On Monday, a person died after being shoved onto the tracks in East Harlem as a train was approaching. The suspected shover was arrested on murder charge. Now, police say he's a 24-year-old by the name of Carlton McPherson. Now, McPherson's mother told the New York Times that her son had been hospitalized for mental health treatment at least twice, and New Yorkers have for a long time seen violence on the nation's largest transit system. And it's not just a matter of shoving cases. New York City is also seeing more people not paying their subway fare, which is why the city has decided to intensify its crackdown by sending at least 800 police officers. Now, I'd like to expand this news feed to the studio. What do you guys think about crimes on the subway? It's not new, right? We've been seeing it here in Korea as well. And what would you like to have a comparison as to what it's like in Korea versus in New York?
Yeah, I don't think it's as serious as it is in New York, though there are from time to time certain situations. There was a few different stabbings, one in Shilim Station, I think last year, at the start of last year. I think in Seoul, it's relatively safe, at least. I think the biggest problem when it comes to the Seoul subway system is the amount of people who actually get onto the subway during the commute times. I think that's a dangerous thing. In regards to people pushing other people on the tracks, we now have, in most stations, if not all stations, we have the doors, the automatic doors that cover people from the train. So I think the Seoul subway here has different dangerous situations compared to New York, but luckily we don't see violence on a daily basis here.
I think you shed light to something really important. Korean subway systems, they have a lot of glass doors or automated doors that really it doesn't make it physically possible for you to be shoving someone to the tracks, though you don't want to even imagine that. And also, though we are seeing a lot of safety measures in place, the matter of overcrowdedness is still an issue. But apart from that, what are some other safety concerns here in Korea's metro?
Well, just talking about the incident in New York, considering how many people commute on these busy subways on a daily basis, it's kind of no surprise to see these kind of accidents do happen. But I think it's just really sad to see how officials intervene after a case like this happens, when it could have been prevented much before. Like what Walter said, a stabbing incident happened in a subway station in Seoul back in 2022. And after the incident, many policemen were on patrol in subways for a while, even in like Gangnam Station as well. But nowadays, you don't really see any policemen on patrol, which is kind of weird to see. So as much as we think, Korea is a very safe country compared to other countries, I still believe that, nowhere in this world is very safe at the moment. So I think, as individuals, we need to be extra careful and just stay alert at all times.
Exactly, and take preventive measures. And I think the New York City is doing a good job by patrolling a lot of 800 officers there. And hopefully, unlike Korea, we'll see them stay put for a while until better measures are introduced. Now, Now, switching gears to our main discussion topic of the day now. Last year, the number of foreigners that visited South Korea for tourism surpassed 10 million. That was a remarkable surge since the end of COVID-19 travel restrictions. And another notable difference since the pandemic was that the average age group of inbound travelers came down. Now, the majority of foreigners who decided to pay a visit to Korea were in their 20s. Now, Kyun, why don't you start us off by giving us a bit more detail as to who and from which countries most people came to visit South Korea?
Sure. Like you mentioned, the age group of foreign tourists coming to South Korea has dropped over the years. To give our viewers a better understanding of the actual figures, let's take a look at the screen. So according to the Korean Tourism Organization, in 2023, there were a total number of 11.03 million foreign tourists that visited Korea. The biggest portion was taken up by those 30 and under at 35.6. The second biggest were those between 31 to 40 at 20.6%. So we can clearly see that over half of the travelers from overseas were MZers like us, again illustrating Korea as a hot tourist destination among them. Another interesting thing to note is that many young people from France, the UK, Mexico, and Australia are choosing Korea as their vacation spot. A few decades ago, travelers were usually from Asian countries like China, Japan, and from Southeast Asian countries. But now we're seeing more from Europe and South America fly in. So just last week, I had a chance to meet an MZer who came from Paris, a Parisian. And she was telling me how everything about Korea was so good, like from the people, culture, food, and so on. But it was so convenient in the sense that the Korean tourism industry was very foreigner friendly.
Right.
And the websites and the service they provide improved so much compared to pre-COVID when she last visited Korea. So it was very surprising to hear that.
So in just 3 years' time, we've seen so much advancement and we're becoming more foreigner or tourist friendly. But Walter, why do you think such a young age group is actually coming into Korea these days?
I mean, we can't mention the younger age group without mentioning K content. I mean, that's what the big attraction is here in South Korea. We all know the younger and some of the older generation as well love their K content with with the continued popularity of K-pop, like with bands such as Blackpink and of course BTS, movies such as Parasite, dramas such as Squid Games. We know that these are massive globally, and all the younger generation are watching these and listening to these types of media. But also K-gaming as well, we shouldn't forget, is one of our biggest exports. Korea has a massive load of exports to give to the younger generation, and hence why this country is seeing this huge influx of Gen Zers coming into Korea.
Exactly, you mentioned a great point. Esports, we're such a strong country when it comes to esports, and I think that's another cultural product that we are selling to a lot of people. But as our visitors are getting younger and younger, I'm quite curious as to what they usually enjoy once they're here.
A lot of things.
Yeah.
But it's no secret that K-pop was the first to start the whole trend of adding the letter K to almost everything about Korea. Now to, K culture, K food, and so on. Even though there are other countries that begin with the letter K, like Kenya and Kuwait, people immediately think of Korea first, which shows the big global rise of Korea's soft power. Now, ever since the start of the Hallyu wave, many young visitors have come to Korea to see the buildings of big entertainment companies like SM, YG, HYBE, and JYP. Now, despite knowing they have a very slim chance of meeting their favorite artists in person, they're still happy to just take photos of buildings to upload on their social media.
Right.
And in terms of location, considering that HYBE and SM are in the central Seoul area, YG is further northwest and JYP more east of Seoul. But before, many were clustered in the Cheongdam, Apgujeong area in the Gangnam district. But since the relocation, more foreign visitors are visiting different areas of Seoul outside the Gangnam district. So consequently, business sales around those big companies have boosted over the years. And a report from BC Card, a credit card company in Korea, compared to the year 2020, in 2023, foreign visitor spending increased a whopping 17 times in Seongsu-dong area, where SM Entertainment is, and 4 times in areas where YG, HYBE, and JYP is located. So I think the numbers speak for themselves. K-pop is definitely a reason for many young people traveling to Korea. But I just want to mention that Korea isn't just all about Seoul. Sure. There are so many other beautiful destinations across the country I would like to recommend from, obviously, we have Jeju Island, there's Busan, Gangwon-do area, Jeonju, Gyeongju, Dongyang, and the list just goes on. So I'd like to recommend these places as well, other than Seoul.
Exactly. And even if you do come just for K-pop purposes, whether that be going to see your favorite entertainment agency or eating at a cafe that your K-pop idol went to, I do think you mentioned a great point there. Outside of Seoul, there's so many other attractions. And if you're a K-pop fan, you might know, but these members aren't just born and raised in Seoul. They're from different parts of the region, which is exactly why I would also recommend going to rural areas. But Walter, would you like to add on as to what the younger generation, the young tourists are doing once they hit South Korea?
I mean, it's all got to do with K content. Everything that they consume, there is some sort of effect that goes on. And that also comes down to food. Now, if we go through the food that some of the movies and dramas go through, we can just they get to experience the tastiness. Example, japuguri, and as well as jjajangmyeon, or let's say soju, kim, tteokbokki, kimbap, anything like that. People are just obsessed with Korean food. I mean, Korean chicken these days. I know that when there was a drama out that showed Korean chicken, that actually Korean chicken prices went up in certain areas around the world. So I definitely think while people are here, they just don't want to see places. They want to eat the great food instead.
Exactly, like japaguri, all the chicken out there. And I think you mentioned a great point as to because we're seeing such a plethora of K content out there, whether it be on OTT platforms or through movies, you want to try out what your favorite celebrity crush is trying out as well. And food is a very important part. Now, to better find out what foreigners want to do when they visit Korea, we asked our global viewers for their own thoughts. If you take a look at the screen, you can find out what 3 of them had to share with us. Let's start with the Power Ranger. The Power Ranger said, "My goal for traveling to Korea is to see a K-pop promo show and try many Korean food like chicken, hot dogs, and noodles." Tears Bell says, "I'm coming to Korea at the end of June this year. I'm an avid Seoul watcher and history buff, so I'm looking forward to visiting the 5 Grand Palaces as well as Jongmyo Shrine." Leon said, "As a huge K-pop fan, I'd love to attend a concert or fan meeting of my favorite K-pop idols. Also, I'd like to visit stores which sell K-pop albums and merchandise." And we're now going to turn to a fellow Gen Z who's visited Korea several times himself, all the way from Bulgaria. So stay tuned for a live interview. We're going to include a Gen Z from Bulgaria who loves traveling to Seoul so much he came not just once, but several times. It's Alex Yevnovje-Helyaskov, a Bulgarian Gen Z, joining us live from Tilburg. Welcome, Alex.
Hello, great to be here.
All right, so why don't you start us off by telling us when you first came to Korea and why?
Okay, so I came first in Korea back in 2019. I came with my dad. It was before the pandemic. And why we came? Because we wanted to visit Korea because it had become so popular. And also because the Korean embassy in Bulgaria had organized an event in my city. And we really wanted to visit Seoul after that.
Okay, so since then, how many more times did you come? And what made South Korea such an appealing travel destination for you, Alex?
So since then, I've came twice more.
Wow.
First in 2022, and the last time was just last year in 2023. Actually, the first 2 times I stayed only in Seoul and a little bit in Suwon. There's just so much to see and do there, and I always run out of time to go to other places.
Yeah.
But last year, I went also to Busan, Andong, Gyeongju, and Jeju Island.
Wow.
I think the reason why is because Korea is so welcoming and so accessible. As a foreigner, you could get anywhere pretty easily. I think it's super straightforward. And also, it's so beautiful. Korea has incredible nature, super delicious food, rich history and culture. And I'm never bored there.
Well, that's great to hear. That you sound actually like a very well-traveled person now here in Korea. So, would you give any tips you'd like to people who are wanting to come to Korea? Where are some must-visit places, and what are some experiences you would like them to try out?
Okay, I have just one tip, and that is try everything. Korea has so much to offer, and you can experience so much there. So personally, I will start with the must-do things, that is walking around the Gyeongbokgung Palace in a traditional hanbok, seeing the entirety of Seoul atop the Namsan Tower, trying seafood in Busan, and also hiking in the volcano and lava cave of Jeju Island. Something that I would recommend young people to experience, especially in Seoul, is go to a Korean cafe or a painting cafe. This is where you could get creative and draw while having a cup of coffee. Also, you can go try a dance class, do some choreography there. You can also go check out what pop-up stores there are in the Seongsu area when at the time of your visit. And something that I really, really, really like is going to Nodal Island with friends for picnic and also to watch the sunset. This is really, really special, so definitely try that one. And also if you're going to other cities, I would definitely recommend Angdong and Gyeongju. It's like super historical. I really, really loved it. And of course, Busan is great as well. You can go to the beaches there. You could go swimming. It's incredible. Korea is just amazing.
Alex, though I'm living in South Korea myself, your interview just made me realize how beautiful of a country I'm living in. And I also want to go to all the different places that you've mentioned so far. Thank you so much. It was such an insightful interview with you today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
All right, now ending off, the Korean government has been trying to secure a steady number of young international tourists to visit Korea. And I'd like to shed light as to what their efforts have been like so far and how you would like to see these policies go on from now.
Right, so Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism is working with the Korean Tourism Organization to come up with more diverse tourist packages and themes like K-sports and K-beauty that goes beyond K-content, as we saw very recently with a MLB season opener held in Seoul. And furthermore, theme products related to esports, like Walter mentioned before, have been made to bring in like more Chinese tourists who like to come here to learn more about the gaming industry and also like learn how to play games better from like professional Korean gamers. And also there are more programs that are made targeting students from Japan to come to Korea for their school excursions. And personally, moving forward, I'd like to see South Korea become a more multicultural and multiracial country, opening its borders to a lot of foreigners and taking into consideration at the same time both quantity and quality, so that for people who seek like new life in Korea, they feel more welcome because we are receiving a lot of tourists right now, which is a great sign for the tourism industry. But at the same time, our population is shrinking, and it's like we have the lowest fertility rate in the world. So we need to be accepting more foreigners to, build the workforce and to, help the country overall. So I think we should come up with better policies that support and protect foreigners that want to actually live in Korea.
Exactly, because as we just heard from the interview with Alex, I mean, once you're here, you can realize the wonders and beauties of this country. And hopefully, if we have better policies, it doesn't end off with just being a trip, but you can think about it as a next destination for you to be living here. What about you, Walter? What are your thoughts?
Well, as Alex said, actually, even though the younger generation are coming to Korea, they are also interested in just our culture itself. It doesn't have to be K-content. It doesn't have to be the movies, the songs, or whatever. It can be the historical value as well of Korea. So I know that the Korean government are holding events such as making kimchi during the kimchi season, as well as also there's a mud festival in Boryong, like every, I think it's every spring or autumn. Anyway, these sort of the events that the government are holding to attract a lot of foreign tourists. And I recommend that you definitely look into them before you come to Korea, because not only do you want to see the modern day style of Korea, but also the historical side of Korea, because it's so beautiful.
Because as you mentioned, and Q mentioned this as well, it's not just the capital region where we're seeing a lot of pop-up stores and a lot of trendy things for you to enjoy, but it's just the whole of the nation. There's other rural regions where you can really enjoy a better and deeper taste of culture, I believe. Now, before I end off, I'd like to ask you one last question very briefly. So what would you recommend people to do once they're here? Like if your friend came to Korea right now, where would you take them?
Obviously, Seoul is the hot spot for everyone, but my second hot spot would have to be Busan. I've been there like 10 times already after Jeju. I think it really reminds me of where I used to live back in Sydney with the beautiful beaches. Everyone's very relaxed, laid back, you know.
Right.
And I think the lifestyle is very different to where you live because people in Gangwon-do, where there are a lot of mountains, like their style of living is very different to people who live in Busan. But
True.
I love the chilled, relaxed vibe people in Busan have, and I'll definitely recommend people who love the beaches or who wants to go for a little surf or whatever, or just enjoy seafood of Busan.
The food's
Definitely
amazing.
visit Busan.
Visit Busan. What about you, Walter?
I'm just going to go basically across the waters to Jeju Island because Jeju Island is very similar to Busan in many ways. I mean, it's got some great food. It's got the ocean as well. Since it's an island, it's surrounded by water, and there are many different kinds of beaches. The food is amazing. Like Hyun, I've been there several times, so I definitely recommend Jeju Island.
And especially now, it's springtime and we're seeing so many cherry blossom trees out, a lot of flowers blossoming. Now is the time to come to Korea, and hopefully today's episode could not only help you planning out your itinerary, but hopefully it could be a travel destination that you put on your list. Now, in the meantime, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Park Ki-hoon
Always a pleasure.
and Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
All right, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are
News Generation.